My name is Alexis Gay. I'm here today to talk about relying on your fans for funding instead of the algorithm. I work for a company called Patreon. Patreon is a platform that lets artists and creators of any kind run their own membership businesses, engaging with their super fans for reliable recurring income each month. So at Patreon, I have a very business title. I'm the senior manager of business operations and creator partnerships. I've been at Patreon for a little over 2 years now, working either directly with creators or running teams that do. And then in addition to that, I myself am also a person that is on the internet. I make videos and I tell jokes, got some real fire tweets coming out day in and day out on the internet. And I share that because something that I feel personally, and then also, of course, feel very professionally in my work with Patreon is what we're going to talk a lot about today, which is that art is valuable. So there are 3 things that I want everybody to think about as we move through this presentation today. Art is valuable. And when I say art, I mean the art that you're creating. I mean the content that your peers are creating. Art can take on many forms. And it's something that a lot of people, especially in these times, really need. In addition, the internet is broken. The internet did a lot of wonderful things for us in terms of giving creators a means to connect with their fans, and also distribution and connecting with niche audiences. But the internet is broken when it comes to actually getting creators paid for that work. And then third, fans want a unique connection to creators, not only to their creations. What I mean by that is that the people who like what you make also want to connect with and support you. Okay, so I mentioned that the internet has, yes, done a lot of great things. Like the internet has created, we could just go to the next slide. Thank you so much. Amazing. So yes, the internet has done a lot of really great things. Like it's created massive opportunities for creators. We now have easy and affordable access to technologies, ideas, distribution. It's allowed art to flourish, given artists a chance to be heard, especially niche artists that may not have been able to previously connect in a more mainstream entertainment environment. And artists themselves have independently been able to build massive followings around the world. But all of this good stuff has come at a pretty high cost when it comes to how we're actually paying for that content and that art online. So the previous slide was what a video looks like when you put it up or when a creator puts it up. And then this is what it actually ends up looking like to your fans. So this ad-fueled attention economy with middlemen and gatekeepers and algorithms has become a necessity in order to continue to connect creators with their audiences. To these companies, creators don't make art, they make content, which is a way for them to make money. So big distribution platforms, and I know a lot of you already know this, but big distribution platforms like YouTube or Facebook, their primary concern is keeping their advertisers happy. And so they're going to keep building platforms and designing algorithms that can keep feeding that need, which is to keep those advertisers coming back and buying more and more ads on their content. And I know that a lot of people say, like, well, that's just how it is. You know, no one wants to pay for content. You've got to feed the algorithm. You have to stay on that grind, to keep feeding the algorithm. But the fact of the matter is that your fans are actually already paying for content. They're just not paying you. They're paying every time they're looking at an ad that pre-rolls in front of your video, every time they click an ad or use a promo code or et cetera. You're just not necessarily seeing the end result of those dollars and where they're going. So one of the things, what I'm talking about today is that there are other alternatives out there, specifically membership. And Patreon is a vehicle that allows you to power membership. So Patreon powers memberships for artists and their most passionate fans. Now, when we talk about membership, why? And also, what is that? So when I say membership, that enables you as a creator to manage and own an independent and direct relationship with your super fans. That's free from ads, algorithms, and any middle persons that might get in the way. And with Patreon, by the way, when I say independent and direct, I mean, we literally give you their email addresses. Like you could download a CSV of the email addresses and walk away at any time. 2, membership allows you to receive significant and reliable recurring income for your work. So obviously there are tremendous benefits to having reliable income. So income that we know is going to happen month by month, and you know how much is going to come in. This enables you to do things like hire an extra part-time editor, or invest in new equipment for a new shoot or something like that. When you know how much money you're making, you can start to think of yourself as a creative business, and you can start to plan accordingly in ways that'll help you actually create more content to connect with your fans. And so your membership also building a sustainable business that gives you the creative freedom to make what you want, which means not necessarily saying like, okay, well, I think this video is going to do really well, meaning I think I'll be able to come up with a catchy title for it. I think I'll be able to come up with an attractive thumbnail for it. But rather saying like, oh, this video is something that I want to make. It would be fun to make this. I would like to create that and put it out there. And your fans are going to love it. And so membership enables you to do all three of these things by fostering that direct relationship between you and your fans that's both financial, because they're paying you every month to gain access to this exclusive content and these benefits. But more so than that, they're also engaging with you directly. They're not going through a third party. They get to see you and what you want to share with them and the type of art and creation that you want to make. Deleted my notes instead of moving to the next slide. Okay, why membership now? I should have started by saying this, but I think we're all pretty aware that the world, it feels like everything is constantly on fire. So I get it that now might not be intuitively the best time to like launch a new business venture. I completely hear that and I feel that. The thing is, the world was already changing into a place where creator memberships could thrive before the pandemic happened. We already had a better understanding that art could be created and distributed online. You saw that at the highest level several years ago with the innovations behind platforms that allowed for like video streaming, for example. That was a new way of connecting content with fans, and we've seen several iterations and evolutions since then. But where we've ended up is, as a society, just having a better understanding that art can be created and distributed online, and that art is still, in fact, art. People are also understanding the importance of paying for art. Consumers, your fans, viewers are savvier than ever. They know what it means when they're watching an ad before your video, and they know that that money is not necessarily making, all of it is not necessarily making its way to you. Okay, so but why now, right? Like I said, whatever's going on, the pandemic has really actually expedited these changes. So as live events have been canceled and creators have struggled to find ways to safely connect with their fans in person, membership has actually provided an incredible forum for them to continue to do so online. And I'm thrilled to say actually that, patrons are stepping up more than ever and they're sticking around, which is really exciting. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. I also wanted to mention that at any point, please feel free to drop some questions in the group chat, and then we'll be taking some questions at the end, and I'd be more than happy to answer those for you all. But anyway, okay, so why membership now when everything is doing what everything is doing? You're not alone. So we had more than 30,000, that's so many people, 30,000 creators launched in the first 3 weeks of March of this year alone. You can see that spike at the end. And these new creators are actually acquiring patrons at a faster rate than usual. So, what I mean by that is that creators have actually expanded their earnings on Patreon during this time period, which I think that that's, in some ways, that might be surprising to hear that people are willing to pay more right now to get access to content, to support creators. However, that doesn't really surprise me when I think about the types of things that I want to do right now. What I'm looking for as an individual, it's about connection and about new things and getting off of Zoom sometimes for a couple minutes. Even just like a couple minutes off of Zoom is really a treat. And so that enables you to find a way to connect with your fans, but also supporting you through a time that may be financially challenging. It may not be, but for many creative people it is. And so it's been really exciting to see that patrons have been increasing. Creators have been able to expand their earnings this time because patrons are actually subscribing to creators on Patreon at an unusually high rate. And we are seeing them stick around and increase their pledges. So yes, it's totally true that we're seeing a handful of patrons deleting their pledges, but the amount that we're then seeing come on board and increase their pledges is totally offsetting that effect. Okay, so did you like my charts? I thought the charts would be very compelling to you because I do want to make sure that you see that there is like real data behind this. This is a real thing that's happening, numbers, etc. But also, in terms of why you should do membership and why you should keep creating right now, like we kind of just legitimately need it to happen. And what I mean by that is that like art keeps us going. So from the song that gets you out of bed in the morning to the podcast you listen to on that like daily walk or on the block, to the video that made you laugh for a second and made you kind of forget everything else that's happening. You, the creators, are the ones creating those moments for people all over the world right now. And we need your art and we need you, and we need you to be able to keep doing it for a long, long time. And that is what membership empowers you to do, to have that longevity as a creator, to keep going and to keep innovating. What does membership in lockdown look like though? Okay, so you've got time to create, you've got a captive audience, and using membership as a vehicle, you can create these moments of joy. They're easy to arrange, they're fun to do. Someone who's doing a lot of this right now is a creator on the platform that I was lucky enough to work with, Ben Folds, who's a musician, who has been doing these live streams for his patrons, and he'll send an email out that's like, doing a live stream in 30 minutes. And then in 30 minutes, lo and behold, there he is. And so there are these little moments where you don't expect to get that email necessarily from Ben Folds, just casually emailing you. And it's like, oh boy, there's something happening in 30 minutes. I'm going to go do that. In terms of what you can offer, and this question of like, do I have enough to offer? Is there something that I have that people might want? You actually already have an archive of material you can use as benefits, whether you know it or not. So that could be video notes, that like literally, you know, like snapshots of little notes that you take in your notebook before you upload a video, or early versions or unedited versions, or photos of your camera setup. There are all kinds of things that you actually already have as a creator that your fans want access to. They want a little peek behind the scenes. You know, they want to know how things work and how they get made. And so you can use all of that material, what you've created, and then what you'll continue to create as benefits for your patrons. Also, you can use Patreon or membership in general to have a live stream strategy. So like I said, Ben Folds, his is a little more like, woo, we're doing a live stream. You can also schedule it. It can also be this thing that happens every Tuesday at 7 p.m. or once a month or whatever works for your schedule. But by having a live stream strategy, you'll be able to give your fans a time and a place when they know they can connect with you live, which, like I said, at least speaking personally, is something that I've valued tremendously. And also community building. So in a similar vein, in addition to wanting to connect live, I mean, just building community in general is something that is so valuable as a creator, because it gives you this home base to come back to and connect with. It gives you a sounding board to bounce ideas off of your patrons to say, hey, what kind of video should I make next? Or, hey, what did you think of this? Or I'm thinking of starting a podcast. Would you be into that? But there's another benefit to community building, which is that you're building a community that then serves and sustains itself. So not only do you as the creator get the benefit of, I have this incredible community of passionate fans who are supporting my art on a monthly basis, but everybody in that community gets to feel like they're a part of something. And I'm sure that I don't need to articulate why now more than ever, it feels good to be a part of something, to be part of something positive and inclusive and supportive, and to know that through that work you're doing, you're actually supporting a creator you really care about. And then all of this results in new revenue. That's important. And I'm somebody where I totally get that. I know you're not, you know, you're supposed to be a starving artist. You're supposed to only do it for the good of the art. And I completely understand that. But the reality is that art and commerce have been linked since the dawn of time. And to suggest that they need to remain separate in order for your art to be valuable, I think is ridiculous. It is okay to make money from your work. And you can hear all the things that I'm talking about. You know, this isn't just like, you know, this isn't a sellout. This isn't like a money grab. This isn't e-begging. This is creating something really special and valuable that people are happy to pay for because they get so much from it. So that's what membership could look like for you in lockdown. And then also more generally, because of course, these are all things you can be doing at any time. Okay, so, oh my God, you know, let me tell you, it's so strange not being in person, because what I would be doing right now in real life is I'd be looking to see if people are like checking their phones to make sure that they're still interested. So my assumption is that everyone is just wrapped with attention right now. Anyway, I want to show a quick video. It's a couple minutes long. This is something that Patreon created earlier this year. It's our brand manifesto film. It really speaks to this idea of relying on your fans for funding instead of the algorithm. And it features a lot of creators talking about why. And so rather than take it from me, I wanted to quickly play this video to give you a sense for how other creators in this space are feeling about this. Let's roll it.
Mark?
Ever since I was little, all I wanted to do was create clickbait.
Clickbait.
We can always count on the algorithm to pick which one of our fans should see our work.
I don't really need to get paid for my work. I'll just eat my likes for breakfast.
Monetization on YouTube and online is not always a given.
Can't really expect what Big Daddy algorithm is gonna do for you this month.
I've decided that I'm sick of waiting on permission.
I love getting pennies for the fun out of
Fear of demonetization.
While everyone else gets rich.
The aim and the vision is to be more direct action.
If I'm not gonna get cast in the roles I wanna get cast in, I'm freaking gonna make them myself.
And that was the point where I started considering to go to my fans directly.
Because of you guys, we've been able to be completely free to be ourselves and speak our minds.
You are making my album possible.
The people.
So I wanted somewhere where I could interact with my closest fans in a way that's direct and honest.
These are the people who care the most.
I am able to keep creating week after week, month after month.
Here's a new costume I'm working on.
Basically following my passion, finally.
We're back. I'm back. I never left. Anyway, that brand film always gets me fired up because I love to hear directly from creators about why they're choosing Patreon and why they're relying on membership as a means to sustain their work and their art and connect with their fans. So in that vein, I just wanted to quickly highlight a couple of folks who are actively using membership, who are actively using Patreon. Some familiar faces here, of course. You know, you've got Ren Ling from Good Mythical Morning, and Wong Fu Productions, and Just Kidding News, and so many more. But what I think is really cool is that you might see some folks on here who you don't know. And what I love about that is that these are all people who have thriving memberships on Patreon, who are creating in different corners and spaces on the internet and connecting with their fans. And the fact that there is an independent means for all of these different types of creators to do that, I think is really exciting and special. And my hope is that this is a platform that enables all kinds of creators to generate a sustainable, independent income from their work. And as I said before, when I showed you my charts, I wanted to make sure that I could back all this up with some numbers in case you're numbers people. Membership works. It like sounds really good. And honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, when I first learned about Patreon, like I said, I joined the company a little over 2 years ago. I heard about the idea and I was like, that's nice. But I didn't immediately think that this was something that people were doing. And then when I started seeing the numbers, and then they've only grown over time, it gave me so much faith in the fact that we are, you know, membership is not just something that people are, oh, like we're doing this out of the goodness of my heart. That's definitely part of it, but it is also so much more than that. I mean, we have paid out $1 billion earned by creators on Patreon through the end of 2019. $1 billion. That is like, that's what? That is so much money coming from fans and patrons all over the world to support and evolve the art of the creators that they love. We have 5 million patrons growing all the time. We've got over 150,000 creators on the platform currently using memberships. So you would be in good company. This is there's a big group right now that are all a part of something in a way that's pretty exciting to see. 2 super quick things about Patreon. I know, I get it. I have to highlight 2 things because when it comes to membership, I know that there are a lot of options out there, but with Patreon, what we do with the 200 plus employees that we've got working day in and day out to make Patreon work and function for creators all over the world is constantly innovate on different product features that are going to support you as a creator. So Patreon enables you to keep your superfans organized and also offer incentives and extra value to them. So as they continue to support you, meaning they're not just sticking around out of the goodness of their heart. I mean, maybe they are, and they're getting extra value from that. And then of course, as you start to release new works, having a base that you can go to help support, like whether that's a book launch or a new album or whatever, you can then use that community to help support the marketing and the release of those new initiatives. And then the last product thing I just wanted to plug quickly is that we've recently released merch for membership, which is a means of powering your own merch for patrons on like a time to earn basis. So instead of, or in addition to having an e-store where folks can go in and buy a tote bag, buy a tumbler, whatever at any time, merch for membership enables you to offer merch as a reward for a benefit to patrons who've been around for, let's say, like 3 months, or it could be like every 3 months. And then they get something super exclusive, custom, can't be bought in stores. And it really adds to that community aspect that I was talking about earlier. I wanted to give you a couple other examples of creators. And again, to hear from them with their own words about why membership is something that is really working for them. Okay, so Molly Burke, who's a YouTuber, she says, I have so many friends who are doing so well on Patreon, not just financially, but they feel like they have this safe space to share parts of their art and themselves that they don't feel ready to share with the millions of followers that they might have on other platforms. I love that. This speaks to something I was saying earlier, which is that you can use your patrons, your community, as a testing ground for new things, which, by the way, the algorithm is not a fan of new things. I'm sure you all know this. I know that I'm preaching to the choir right now, but if you are a creator who wants to push yourself, who wants to grow, who wants to try new things, you might really struggle with that new type of content, finding an audience with the distribution platforms you're currently using. Whereas with something like membership, where you're building a community of fans who are stoked about you, that will be welcomed, well received. They'll be excited to see that new type of content. Another creator is Issa Rae, who's absolutely incredible, who now, of course, is a creator and star of Insecure on HBO, and she's been on Patreon for a while. She says, we use Patreon as a membership program, so to not only fund content, but to hold events and give supporters exclusive perks. So not only to fund content, that's important, because like I said, there are many ways to make money on the internet, but using membership enables you to not only make money, but also connect with your fans and connect with your most avid supporters. And then the last one that I wanted to touch on is a group that I was lucky enough to work with personally when I first started at Patreon, which is the Try Guys. Fantastic group of 4 YouTubers who have an absolutely thriving YouTube channel. They came over to Patreon when they left BuzzFeed and they were seeking independence. And they said, Patreon has been the place that's the testing ground for new content, our podcast, and new series for bonus content. It's the home front where we are building a connection to the people that enjoy it. Love that so much for obvious reasons. These are just a few examples of the creators that are finding a way to connect with their fans through membership. And I really want you to be able to hear directly from them. Okay, this is the last thing I'm going to say before we go to questions and all that. I recognize that today especially, it's pretty hard to think even like 20 minutes in front of you, or maybe that's just me, but I struggle with that. I'm like, what's going to happen? I don't know. And as a result of that, as somebody who is a creator, as somebody who is a creative entrepreneur, as somebody who considers themselves both, it may be challenging right now to think about the future of you and what you want to be making a year from now, who you want to be and what you want to be making 3 years from now. That's challenging to consider at any time, but I think especially now, it's hard for us to kind of like know what's next. But the thing is, membership is a way that you can start investing in that now. So right now, maybe you're making videos on YouTube and that's going great. And that is fantastic. And hats off to you. What I would ask is, what might you want to do next? Is it a book deal? Because if it's a book deal, you need to be able to make sure that you're finding a way to reach those fans who are the most passionate about your work when you want to announce that. Membership allows you this totally independent way to connect with and build a group of fans over time, regardless of what avenue you want to go down next. So yes, you want to be thinking about of course, we all have to like take care of ourselves right now. You also want to be thinking about what you want to be creating a few years from now and who's going to be holding the purse strings when the time comes. And with membership, that person can be you. Awesome. That's all for me as far as the prepared portion, the slides. I would love to take some questions now. I'm super excited because this is like the time when I get to actually connect with you all. Hey, Kimberly. Oh, wait, hang on one sec. I cannot hear you. Is there any chance you're muted? This could also be my fault, full disclosure. Let me see. Let's see here. One moment, quick pause. Okay, can you try talking one more time? Okay, Ryan is gonna help you figure it out and then you're gonna come back and then I'm gonna answer your question. It's gonna be fantastic, I'm so sorry. Sorry, Kimberly. Okay, I'll see you in 1 second. Great, okay, we have another question. It is from Cleo of Topless Topics. She said, I'm a oh no, I lost the question. Where'd it go? Bring it back. Thank you. Okay, she said, I'm a stay-at-home mom whose kids make it hard to schedule things like donor-only chats, and most of my followers just don't have a lot of disposable income. What cheap incentives should I explore? Fantastic question, Cleo. Okay, so I heard two questions, or I heard two facets to that question. One being like not a lot of time, maybe an unpredictable schedule, and then two, concerns about how much disposable income your fans have, which completely valid. Those are both things you want to keep in mind. I'm going to speak more generally to this point, and then I'm going to answer your question specifically. So speaking more generally, when you think about what you want from membership, you want to think about what you would need financially from the membership in order to make it worth your time. And then you can adjust both sides of that equation. So you could say like, well, you know what? It would be really worth it to me to earn $500 a month if that meant I was only spending 5 hours a week, if I was only spending 1 hour a week. You should start to think about those questions so you can start to think about the value of your time to make sure that you're designing benefits that are going to serve that ultimate goal, whether that's $500 a month, $5,000, more than that, etc. Okay, now as far as maybe unpredictable schedule, maybe not so much disposable income, here are some things that come to mind for me. The first and foremost is community. The reason for that is that community is a low cost and self-sustaining benefit option. So when I say community, I mean, for example, you could do a Discord server, which is a chat server that is open only to your members, where they can talk amongst themselves about different pieces of your work that you're creating. And then you as the creator can sort of pop in, say hello, you can start discussions, you can be more hands-off. But what you're doing is you're building something and then you're letting folks come in and then continue to add to it. And then you can kind of step out. So that can be an ongoing benefit that you have maybe at one of your lower tiers so that your patrons are still getting value, even though you might have to go handle the kids. You know, it's not the same as committing to like, I will be here at this time. That one's really more of a like pop in. The other thing I would say is just snapshots and videos and information about how you do your thing. So I'm not super positive what kind of content you're creating, but I'm sure that most creators have, actually, I know for a fact that all creators have some sort of process that they go through that is so boring and dumb to us. And then it's actually like really interesting to other people. This is something I've learned. So you could do like photos of your camera setup, or you could do, like I said, like little scratch notes about how you come up with your ideas and things like that. So I would think about what are the moments that you're already experiencing that you could capture that you don't find super interesting, but that other people might be like, oh, that's how she does it. Now, as far as the disposable income piece goes, again, speaking more generally first, this is hugely important to consider. As a creator, you want to be thinking about who are the fans that I'm reaching, which does include like, you know, what price points might they be comfortable with? So one, if you've sold merch before or you've sold sold tickets to live events, think about where those price points were and how successful you were able to sell those out. So that might be a first step. Be like, okay, well, when we did a $15 ticket, that went pretty well, 30, not so much. Interesting information to keep in mind. And then I would say it is tempting to start with a $1 tier if you have concerns about the level of disposable income of your fans, but I would highly recommend starting with 2 at the bare minimum. And the reason is we don't see a huge difference in the way that patrons pledge at the $1 tier versus the $2 tier, but you as a creator might be doubling your opportunity to earn money from that tier just by starting at $2. So I would start there. And then I would also say one more thing, which is to make it clear that you are not, by launching a membership, taking the opportunity, taking your content that's already out there away from your audience. So this is very important. I actually never really it's been done successfully. So I wouldn't say like this has never happened before, but I wouldn't necessarily advocate for taking your existing content and then putting it behind a paywall. I'm a much bigger advocate for finding new things to pull out of it and creating new benefits so that it feels very additive to your audience. Because if your audience feels like, I'd like to pay for that, I can't, you don't want them to feel like you've taken something from them. So start with the $2 tier, use the community feature like Discord, share behind the scenes content, and then make sure you're adding benefits instead of taking things away. Next question. Kimberly's back.
Hello. It's working.
Yay, oh, I'm so glad.
Thank you so much for talking about this with us today. I'm really excited to talk to you. We've been on Patreon since 2016. We have a channel on YouTube for teaching math and science and computer programming. It's called Socratica. And we have some wonderful fans. Like they have been supporting us on Patreon, which makes up maybe about 1/3 of our income. So it's very significant.
Oh my God, awesome.
Amazing, amazing. And that protection against the algorithm fluctuations is like, it really gives us peace of mind. So we would like to engage with these patrons, to talk to them and hear about what they'd like more of. And they're just not engaged. Like they're really not engaging with us, So we'll put posts on our feed, and there's maybe just a handful of likes, or we'll post like backstage footage, and we see that nobody's watching it. Yeah. so we've tried a few things over the years, and we're just not getting a lot of engagement. So, I'm curious, like, is this something that we should just keep plugging at and keep trying new things, or is this just our audience is just not that interested in this personal engagement?
That is fascinating. So what are you also seeing patrons leaving, like they're exiting? It sounds like they're sticking around.
Very, very low churn, which is wonderful. That's so nice. But yeah, it's just every now and then I get this, like once a month, basically, when the pledges happen, I'm like, God, we didn't do something for them, other than making content. So.
Well, I would say a couple things. One, it's are your benefits things that are currently landing in their inbox?
Yes. Yeah.
So it may be that they're viewing the benefits in their email, and then they're just sort of like, that was nice. And they aren't necessarily navigating to the page to go like and comment and engage with it.
That's interesting. Okay. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because like likes and comments and stuff is one signal of engagement, but then pledge retention is like the big one. You know what I mean?
Right.
If
like that's the bottom line, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you were saying the opposite, if you were like, people are really engaged, but they're leaving left and right, I'd be like, hold on.
Yes. Right.
Make changes. But it sounds like it's possible that you don't necessarily need to overhaul your whole strategy. I think what you mentioned is like, you're trying a couple different things. You're like, oh, we did a video of the backstage footage. We did like a post. I think just continuing to try those little things, maybe eventually you'll find one that does bring people to the page, or also maybe you won't. Maybe the people who are supporting you are like, the value that I get out of this is knowing I'm supporting a creator I love. Maybe they're getting some exclusive content from you. Maybe community isn't the thing that they're looking for, which is totally possible.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. So that's reassuring. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're not right. You're not like doing it wrong.
Well, thanks so much for taking my question and for talking to us today.
Oh my gosh, this has been such a treat. It's so nice to talk to you, Kimberly. Thanks for the question.
Sure thing. Take care.
Bye. Okay, next question. Okay, Emily says, my sister runs a film-based YouTube channel. Other than releasing films early to patrons, how could she use Patreon? Film-based. Okay, let me think about this. So there are a couple buckets of benefits generally that we speak to, which a few of which I've already touched on. So I won't revisit those, but I'll make sure that I've covered all of them. We talked about using community. So she has a film-based YouTube channel. Maybe there are people who want to talk about those films. So I could definitely see community being a good angle here. We already talked about behind the scenes footage, things like that. For film in particular, actually, I think that could be really interesting. I don't know if these are short films, if they're more fully produced films, but, you know, does she have like call sheets? Does she have set lists? Does she have shot lists? You know, is there like part of the process that she could bring people into that would be interesting if they're like film buffs? I would also wonder, you know, why are people connecting with her content? And this is actually something that, you know, you can ask yourself as a creator, regardless of what you're creating. What is it about you as a content creator or the work that you're putting out there that's keeping people coming back week after week? You know, are these like comedy videos? Are they feeling that relief of like, oh, good, like I get to have some joy and some laughter? Are they educational videos? Do they feel like people are we learning? Are we like expanding our mindset? I like that those are the only two options in my mind. I'm like, it's either funny or I'm learning something. That says a lot about me. But the reason I bring it up is that by asking yourself that question, I think that it'll help you think a little bit more about what your fans already like about you, and then how you can give them more of that. So to the point about, you know, if this was about like education, if you're finding that your fans are connecting most with your films where they're really learning something, how can you do more to teach them using membership? I feel like that answers the question personally, but I would also understand if that felt like half an answer. But I think let's move on. Cool? No, I'm going to say that was 100% of an answer. Okay. All right. Natalie says, at what point should you create a Patreon? I only have 12,500 subscribers. Congrats. That's huge. On YouTube. Oh no, I lost the question again. Oh my God, they disappear so quickly. Brian, can I have it back? Thank you. I only have 12,500 subscribers on YouTube, but mainly target career-driven women in the early stages of their career. Well, we love to see that. That's amazing. Okay, so Natalie's question is, at what point should you create a Patreon? I get this question all the time. Literally, a friend of mine asked me in an Instagram DM last night. That is how frequently I get this question. You're not going to like the answer, because the answer is it depends. However, I'm going to give more context on that. Okay, when I say it depends, what I mean is there's no magic number. It's not like, great, you passed 10,000 subscribers, now you should have a Patreon. The question you should be asking yourself is, how many engaged fans do I have? Because subscriber count is certainly one success metric. So if you look at your subscriber count and you've got like 40,000 subscribers, hell yeah. Also 12,000 subscribers, hell yeah. That's a lot of people. How many of them are watching your videos week after week? Because that's really going to tell you who is your engaged fan base. And then you could even go one step further and say, who's liking these videos? Who's commenting? What percentage of the people who are viewing the videos are engaging with the content? And then once you do that, you'll have a sense for how many people you've got to pull from that may be interested in joining your Patreon. They may be interested in a paid offering. So, okay, going back specifically to Natalie's case, 12,500 subscribers, early career-driven or early career-focused women. Okay, so of those 12,500, I think you would want to first do what I just recommended, which is figure out of that group, how many are really engaging week after week. I would then recommend doing what I said previously, which is why. So for somebody who's career-driven, again, is this skill building? Are we doing public speaking? Are you talking about P&Ls? Is it more motivational? Is it more, navigating a workplace that may or may not feel comfortable to them? Or is it a community aspect? Are you connecting women with each other? Are you connecting people with career opportunities, et cetera? Thinking about what it is that they want from you, and then how many of them might want it, and then decide for yourself, what might that number be, right? Okay, let's say you've got 1,000 fans coming back every week to watch your videos, and you think they really want like motivation. You think it's more of a like, hey, you got this. Okay, and you can do that reliably. Is that going to be enough? Is that going to, how does that membership sit with you? You know what I mean? Like if you converted 50 of those fans and you earned $5 a month from your motivational content, would that be enough for the time investment that you're making? What I'm trying to do is get us away from this idea of like, okay, I've hit the threshold, now it's time, and more towards this idea of like, here are the inputs and outputs you should be considering when you're thinking about Patreon based on what it is that you want to do with it. Okay. Natalie, good luck. Also, love that idea. Okay, we're going to do one more question. Oh, last question. Sad, but good. I'm sweating a lot. Hello.
Hi. So I'm a creator mainly on YouTube, and I was wondering if you had tips on getting people to click over to my Patreon page because I've actually had my Patreon for a few years now, but I still have 0 patrons. I think some of it is just because my YouTube audience is still somewhat small, but I'm having trouble getting people to click over.
Totally. That's a great question. Can I ask where your Patreon is currently linked out in your videos or on your channel?
So in a lot of the videos, I mentioned it at the end of the video and was putting the URL in the text. It was in the video description. It was also in the links on the channel page, both at the top and the banner. And I think I have it in my description. So I put it a lot of places, including talking about it at the end of a lot of videos as a call to action, but people just don't seem to be clicking over to it.
Totally. I hear you. And would you mind just giving me, when you described the Patreon at the end of the video, how you talk about it?
Sure. So for a while, I mean, I was doing, I know you said earlier, recommending not doing the starter tier be $1. Sorry, I'm mumbling over my words.
Oh my God, don't worry.
For a while, I was doing a thing at the end of the videos, but then I kind of stopped because it didn't seem like anyone was responding. But I was like, for as little as $1 a month, you can become a patron on Patreon and help me continue to make videos, was sort of what I was saying. And then I would have the link on screen, but no one seemed to be clicking over.
I hear you. Okay, I have a 2-pronged answer for you. So one is that I think I especially as someone who also makes videos, I hear the impulse to want to put it at the end. But the reality is that a small percentage of your viewers are going to make it all the way to the end of a video, right? Even if your watch time is really good, they're still probably not making it to the end. So one problem I'm seeing here is that they may literally not even be hearing about it. So I would recommend starting at the beginning of your video, using that moment for a call to action. And then what I would also recommend is think about how we can reframe this offering so that the value is really at the forefront, like the value to your fans. So totally hear you on like, oh, for as little as $1 a month. But one thing that I think we do inadvertently when we talk about it like that is that we make it sound like, oh, hey, like, oh, if you know what I mean? Like, oh, it's just $1, which that resonates with me a lot. But what I also want to make sure that creators feel empowered to know that what they're offering has value, to know that it's worth $1 or $2 a month. So what I often recommend is to, instead of leading with like, to lead with more like value focused language. So maybe highlight one of your benefits and be like, if you want XYZ, join my Patreon. It's $2 a month. The link is in my bio. Now let's get to the video. Or you could use examples of past benefits, which I always think this is really cool, where it's like, you can call out like, I had a great time live streaming with my patrons last night. If you want to join the next one, it's $2 a month, head to my Patreon, link is below. So you can forefront the value. So you can first be like, hey, if you want this thing, come on down, instead of starting with like, hey, here's how much it costs. And if you want to support me, that would be great. Even though, of course, we appreciate very much like the support. I don't think it has to come off like it's unappreciated, but I think that highlighting it as a value for value exchange, you'll see some more success.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great. Okay. I think that is it. I'm sad to go. I mean, this was really a treat. I hope that this was a nice 47 minutes for everybody. I really do. Once again, my name is Alexis Gay. I'm from Patreon. You can learn more at patreon.com. It's a membership platform that lets creators and artists of all kinds run memberships for their fans. And I wish you all the best. Hope all is well, etc. And have a great day.